Okay, well, again, good morning for those of you in the Eastern time zone or earlier, and good afternoon to those of you in London, in the UK, and Europe. This is a big day for the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics and the Royal Aeronautical Society signing the Memorandum of Understanding. And this is a really important day, great day for all of us. Today, we will have the president of the Royal Aeronautical Society, Jonathan Cooper, as well as the president of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, John Langford, each give a couple of opening remarks, and then we will have the formal signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, and then we will have a Q&A session. So please feel free to load up the Q&A portion of the Zoom application so that we can answer whatever questions are out there. And we again welcome everyone today. Glad everyone could make it from across the globe. I see we have over 170 participants right now. That's absolutely fantastic. I will let everyone know that we are going to be recording this for posterity's sake so that people can get to it on the web later. And then also we will do the Q&A. We will be locking the meeting in about 15 minutes, so to avoid any security issues that might happen. But given all of those mechanics, and again, welcoming everyone today, I will now turn it over to Professor Jonathan Cooper, the president of the Royal Aeronautical Society. So welcome, Jonathan, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Dan. Good morning, good afternoon, and I guess even good evening to everybody who's tuning in. As Dan said, I'm Jonathan Cooper. I'm the president of the Royal Aeronautical Society. And as a fellow of both the RAeS and the AIAA, I'm both honored and very pleased to be able to participate in this signing ceremony for the Memorandum of Understanding between the world's two leading membership aerospace organizations. Back in 1866, our founding members set up the Royal Aero Society for the advancement of aerial navigation and for observations in aerology. I'm sure they'll be very pleased to see how far we have progressed technically in the past 150 years, particularly in aviation and space, and how the Society has continued to play a key role in facilitating and influencing developments across the broad aviation and space domains. I represent an organization which is both a professional engineering institution and also a learned society, which has the mission to, one, provide influence and leadership to the aerospace, aviation and space domains, disseminating impartial and authoritative knowledge and information to a broad audience. Two, attract and support a diverse and active membership base, both nationally and internationally via a wide range of activities. Three, maintain and facilitate professional standards across a wide range of competence and academic activities. The RAeS has around 25,000 members based in nearly 100 countries. Uniquely, compared to many other PEIs, a large proportion of our membership is drawn from other careers across aviation and aerospace, including pilots, air traffic controllers, aviation medicine, and the armed forces, etc. Through our local branches, specialist technical committees, corporate partners, we organize over 400 events each year, which include conferences, workshops, and outreach events for school children. And we do this to support the professional development of our membership and share knowledge. The Society is a licensed body of the Engineering Council, which means that engineers can apply through us to achieve the relevant level of professional registration. And we also host the UK's National Aerospace Library. This MOU will enable both societies to collaborate to our mutual benefit in areas of learned activities, information services, and awards. And in order to develop opportunities for tomorrow's aerospace professionals as we embrace the future of flight and strive to reach new frontiers, while also tackling the hard questions on climate change and sustainability, and of course, the effect of the COVID outbreak. For example, our local international branches are one of our key strengths, providing a focus for events outside our London HQ. We have two wonderful branches in the US based in DC and Seattle, who deliver an excellent program of events for our society members and the wider aeronautical community in their areas. And they've been doing this for over 20 years. Going forward from the signing of this MOU, These RAeS branches and their dedicated executive committees will be a vital part of the mechanism that will allow us to collaborate and deliver activities of mutual interest and benefit in the areas of DC and Seattle, and of course beyond there. Of course, we must find ways of supporting our sectors during the current COVID pandemic and helping them to prepare for the future once the current critical situation starts to ease. Across all aspects of our life, COVID is having a serious effect on the aerospace and aviation industries across, well, the UK and Europe, and of course the rest of the world. For many across our communities, these have been particularly difficult times, with jobs being lost or furloughed, companies facing bankruptcy, apprenticeships being lost, and the rest of the academic year being curtailed in universities and colleges. The long-term impact on the economy once we've got through the current crisis is also rather bleak. So what can we do to help this? Although all physical RAeS events for the foreseeable future have either been postponed or cancelled, the Society's staff, aided by other members, have been extremely busy working remotely in these challenging times across a wide remit of activities, including membership, careers, endpoint assessments, accreditation, and still supporting the National Aerospace Library and our various publications. Some examples of this. Our careers team is providing individual advice plus an extensive range of upgraded guidance materials on aspects such as making job applications and preparing for interviews. And this is a free service open to both members and non-members as part of our charitable activity. Last week, I chaired a meeting of 25 or so of the UK universities that offer aerospace degrees in order to discuss best practice and how to assess students following the cancellation of the rest of the academic year, while still meeting the professional accreditation requirements. And we also discussed the joint group design project, which possibly could run next academic year. The Society has organised numerous webinars for our members during the past few months. For example, a recent careers webinar attracted over 500 attendees with over 180 questions and excellent engagement and positive feedback on social media. And a recent Boeing 777 webinar attracted 800 participants. The National Aerospace Library has seen a large increase in usage in its digital resources, including ebooks, podcasts of recent lectures, and the sound archive enables you to listen to a real who's of aviation personalities. And again, this MOU is going to enable both the AIAA and the RAeS to combine some of our digital media and make them more available across all of our membership. So as in normal times, where we need to achieve a balance between celebrating the outstanding achievements of the past whilst ensuring that further inspiration and facilitation is provided for current and future generations to progress all aspects of flight and space, we need to prepare for the world beyond the COVID situation. Our ways of working and traveling may be very different from what we are used to today. However, aerospace has made an immense contribution to mankind since the Wright brothers' first flight back in 1903, and I'm very confident that this role will continue in the future. The industry has bounced back from previous crises in the past, and I'm sure that we'll be able to do so this time around. The RAeS will continue to pursue its key themes of the future of flight, tomorrow's aerospace professional, and climate change and sustainability, as these will be just as relevant post-COVID as they were 6 months ago. On behalf of the Royal Aeronautical Society, I look forward to working together with the AIAA on the basis of this MOU in some of the areas that I've mentioned, and also many more as well. Thank you very much. Over to you, John, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you very, very much, Jonathan. I'm John Langford. It's my pleasure to serve as the president of the American Institute for Aeronautics and Astronautics, and to welcome all of you today to this signing ceremony. The AIAA, you know, we are the aerospace workforce of today and the aerospace workforce of tomorrow. That is really the theme around which we are built, and our membership is strong and vibrant, and really why we why we exist. We're comprised of over 30,000 members in the professional category, in the student category, and in the international category. And this step today of this alliance with the Royal Aeronautical Society is a big part of bolstering our international representation. We're engaged in a move to a virtual set of operations. One of the things that we're doing today, we have a set of technical conferences with a long and distinguished history. About 5 years ago, we began to consolidate over 60 different conferences into 5 sort of flagship conferences. And today we're transitioning those into a virtual world. Our aviation conference, one of our flagships, which will be held this June, was to have been held in person in Reno, Nevada. It will be for the first time a virtual conference. And one of the advantages of that is that it will allow us to reach many more people. We'll be able to offer participation in this conference to all of our members and to new members around the world. So we're excited about that. One of our other great themes that we're involved in at the AIAA is building our diversity, on the idea that any organization must represent the society that it draws from, that it builds its base from. And that means diversity in all of its aspects, in gender diversity, in diversity of racial backgrounds, underrepresented groups historically in aerospace, and also diversity of thought, of big companies and little companies. We're particularly excited about the rise of an entrepreneurial culture, or the resurgence of an entrepreneurial culture in aerospace. And the international thinking, that people around the world contribute to the great ideas of our industry, and the AIAA is proud to welcome members from around the world in that. One of the milestones that we recently celebrated in the last month that we're particularly proud of is each year AIAA joins with the flagship publication in the United States, Aviation Week in Space Technology, to select 20 rising superstars of our industry in the coming year. They would call it the 2020s, new career members who are in their 20s. And this year, for the first time, more than half of our 2020s were young women, and we think that's a sign of great progress in our industry, and we're very excited about that. You know, building the membership base, building the diversity requires education. It requires a heavy involvement in education, and the AIAA has always been proud of our student chapters. It's one of the foundations of our organization is our strong representation at universities with programs in aerospace, not only in the United States, but around the world. But we also recognize that in order to continue to build the future generations and to build the diversity, that we have to increase that. And we're engaged in a movement to push our activities back into the K through 12, the primary and secondary education programs here in the U.S. And through this partnership with the Royal Aeronautical Society, we hope to make that an international activity as well. A big part of that for the AIAA is our foundation, that we have a separate part of our operation which is specifically dedicated to the development and support of educational initiatives. That has been growing in size and importance and in activities in the AIAA, and we're particularly proud of that and optimistic about what that will be doing in the future. The AIAA, we both celebrate the past and empower the future. Obviously, it's always humbling for Americans to have to stand next to the British and try to talk about history. Who the Royal Aeronautical Society has, such a strong culture and history in there. But at the AIAA, we recently celebrated the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing, which we think is is a milestone of achievement for people around the world. Now, hard to believe that's 50 years ago. It's important to help people both celebrate that, understand how that happened, and to be inspired in that and work towards and move towards the future. And we are now part of what our NASA administrator calls the Artemis generation, the new programs that will move forward and land the first woman on the moon within the next few years. All of those come together in the agreement that we're signing here today, which will build our international cooperation and build on our historic partnership with the Royal Aeronautical Society. I wanted to just close with a personal note that the Royal Aeronautical Society played a crucial role in my own career development, and I think in a way that exemplifies the importance of education in many of the things that I've been trying to speak to here. Through their sponsorship of a series of competitions called the Kramer Prizes that was offered by British industrialists under the auspices of the Royal Aeronautical Society, starting actually in the late 1950s, a series of prizes for the development of human-powered aircraft, which really was the driver of that whole field of endeavor, and has probably entrained, we're probably 4 or 5 generations of students in just unparalleled development projects ideal for university environments, and has fed a whole generation, several generations now of people into the aerospace workforce. I think that captures the power of what our societies can do, and what the Royal Aeronautical Society did there with the Kramer competitions has served as both an inspiration and a model for many others. And I hope we can take that as a joint example of the power of what societies such as ours can do. And finally, my only regret in this call this morning is that we're not able to have it at the Royal Aeronautical Society's headquarters at 4 Hamilton Place, which I encourage all the members of both the RAeS and the AIAA, if you haven't had a chance to visit that magnificent facility in downtown London, you absolutely should. It is the library is one of the most amazing I've ever been in terms of an aeronautical library, and it's a beautiful venue and facility. So Jonathan, delighted on behalf of all of our 30,000 plus members to be with you here today. I'm sorry we're not in person, but that in no way takes away from the importance of the agreement that we're prepared to sign.
Thank you very much, John.
So thank you, Jonathan and John. Very important points and great remarks. Thank you. Now it is time to actually sign the document. I believe each of you have a copy of it in your respective locations. So please feel free to sign in the right place, and then show us the evidence of the signature, if you would, please.
So there we go.
So there you have it. We have the MOU signed between the Royal Aeronautical Society and the AIAA. And again, thank you to John and Jonathan for your leadership and your willingness to put this MOU in place. This is very important for the future of both associations, both societies. And we really do appreciate you making the time available to do this. We have a couple of questions here. All of a sudden they've popped in. There are all kinds of good ones here. I'll start with the first one here from Jason Moeller. He's a member of both organizations and for different reasons. And the question he asks is, should he remain a member of both organizations? And I will let each of you take that one on.
So I'll start and say, yes, very much so. Each of our organizations has particular strengths coming together. We are hoping to enhance the experience of your membership. So things, there's mention of things like joint conferences, but again, how can we work together to increase our membership? So it's not one taking over from the other. It's not trying to say you're just going to become a member of one society. So very much please remain a member, and always with these sort of societies, it's what you put in. The more you put in, the more that you get back.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and the current the short answer is absolutely yes. You should remain a member of both, but I think the next level is so what does that mean, and how do we both work to increase the value of a membership to individuals around the world. That's one of the things we spend a lot of time working on, and this memorandum is a framework for pursuing that. Some of the other questions have asked or suggested possibilities of joint membership or reciprocal membership. Those are great ideas. Those are things that we'll be looking at under the context of this MOU, which is designed to start that dialogue, take it to the next level, and facilitate ideas. So we are open and eager to hear from memberships of both organizations, and we love it to have people in who belong to both.
So I think a couple of questions here revolve around, will there be joint conferences between the Royal Aeronautical Society and AIAA? And I think, John, you just hit on a key point. This MOU helps facilitate those discussions. There's nothing, this agreement does not put those in place just yet, but it gives us the framework. But would you like to, Jonathan and John, maybe comment on how you would see the value of joint conferences and what the possibilities might be? Because we have a lot of interest on that topic.
Indeed, I mean, both our respective societies organise many different conferences, both in the US and mostly in the UK. But you know, we have technical committees. A lot of the conferences in the Royal Aero Society are focused on a particular specialist discipline, or getting 2 or 3 technical committees to work together. There are analogous committees in the AIAA. So, for instance, I'm a member of Structures and Materials in the RAeS. I'm a member of the Structural Dynamics Tech Committee on the AIAA, and absolutely, let's work together and organise specialist conferences, you know, to be held in the US or in Europe. Go for it. It's as you say, Dan. And there's been various people. I see Bruce Willis. Hi, Bruce. Has said, you know, what's actually in the MOU. Well, it gives us a framework to go and explore all of these ideas.
This move to virtual is another big change that I think will really facilitate international cooperation, and really speaks to the power of this collaboration. There's no substitute for in-person meetings, right? Building that human touch is and will remain essential to what we do. But there's also no question that the travel costs, even before COVID, they limited the number of people who can attend the large, the technical conferences and workshops. And this increasing move to virtual will make it more and more possible for people around the world to participate in these, which I think gives the leadership of these 2 great organizations the extra incentive and impetus to collaborate, work together, and to produce joint content that we can share with our members around the world.
So there's one question here from Bob Wynn. I will give you guys the option to either read the MOU if you would like, or the other thing, we will be posting the MOU up on the AIAA and RAeS websites so that people can read it firsthand. If I will leave it to Jonathan and John in terms of how they would like to deal with that one, but please know that it will be posted on the websites for everyone's reference, along with this recording of this event.
Well, since I think Bob wrote the agreement, so I take that as a setup question that he doesn't actually need to know what it says, but wants to share it with everybody. So sure, why don't I'll quickly read a paragraph, and then Jonathan can read one, just so everybody isn't left guessing on this. It's the Royal Aeronautical Society and the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics currently have an agreement in place from 1992 This MOU updates that earlier agreement and reinforces our desire to continue to collaborate in furthering the profession of aeronautics and astronautics.
So periodic reviews of a collaborative strategy between the two institutions will be conducted with the involvement of the respective chief executives. The chief executives of the two institutions will oversee the systematic exploration and implementation of potential areas of cooperation to include, but not limited to, the following areas. So these are the key areas, which are: the two institutions will seek to cooperate to promote learning activities such as lectures, conferences, and other activities of mutual interest. Cooperation on sharing information services such as publications and library resources, and seek to cooperate on joint honors and awards initiatives. That was the longest paragraph, John. So.
And the most substantive, I think, there. The MOU will become effective through the duly effected authorization of each institution in the case of accordance with its constitution. The MOU is effective for an indefinite period of time. It may, however, be terminated with immediate effect of either institution by giving written notice.
And then the rest is a lot of legal bits and pieces. I think that's the main gist.
That's the important part.
Talk to Bob Wynn about the legal stuff.
Yes, we will have that already. From Bishnuji, hopefully I'm saying that right, Bishnuji Singh, the question is, does the MOU cover mutual recognition of membership at the same grade across the RAeS and AIAA?
Not yet.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Thank you, John. That's one of the possibilities. We haven't gotten into those details yet. We wanted this foundational MOU in place so that we could begin to have those substantive conversations. Carlos Sesnick answered a similar question, so we'll move on. What is, from both of your perspectives, Jonathan and John, what would you like to see us be the first priority items that we address as part of this MOU? What are some of the first activities you would like to see the two societies take on and work jointly? Well,
certainly, you know, we're in the middle of this COVID situation, so I think trying to join up some of our digital activities. We're both running webinars with distinguished speakers, if not weekly, certainly every other week, and trying to set this up so perhaps some of our digital media can be shared between the two societies seems a totally joined up thing. You know, aerospace is global. We are the two global societies, or we'd like to be more global, but we've certainly got a big international reach. So let's build on that.
Well, you know, Dan, the COVID crisis is the first global pandemic in the social media age, right? And it's not just a medical crisis; it's become an aviation crisis, almost an existential threat for some members of the aerospace community. And I think there is a tremendous need for credible, authoritative sources of information, right? That people are hungry for that. You hear a lot of speculation about, you know, is it safe to get on an airplane and things like that. And I think that one of the key roles for our organizations today can be to be a credible source of factual-based information that really gets the message out about the realities of modern transportation, modern air travel, how safe it actually is, and be able to back that up with serious technical data in a non-advocacy kind of presentation. Because I think we can speak with a stronger voice than individual members, right? Who may have corporate or financial interests that cause them to be perceived as by the public as less than fully credible, as having some interest in that. I think the AIAA and the Royal Aeronautical Society can speak for our industries as a whole, and can do it in a credible and non-advocate way that puts factual information out there to a public that is very, very hungry for it.
And perhaps also start organising some fora where we're saying, right, well, how do we get out of this crisis? You know, the UK is talking about putting a 2-week quarantine on people flying to the UK now. But how do you fly safely? You know, I think a lot of people have picked up COVID from sitting around in the airports rather than the actual flying. So again, I said before in my speech that quite a lot of our membership are not just engineers, so that includes things like aviation medicine and policymakers. You know, perhaps we should be looking to join these together, and being AIAA and Aero Society, you know, we're getting a global pull on that. We put two things together and we get more than two.
Yeah.
Right. Question here from David Williams. Would the MOU enable information exchange at the technical level, such as collaborations between the technical committees?
I hope so.
Yeah,
why not? We ought to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be one of the key things.
And you know, Dan, if our members see barriers to that exist today, we should encourage them to escalate that, to bring it up to your attention and to others, because you know, one of my experiences, the president, has been we often hear about barriers that we don't even know exist, right? That could be easily overcome if the leadership was simply aware of it. And so I think if people perceive barriers to current technical collaboration, we'd love to hear about it at AIAA headquarters, and I'm sure that the RAeS shares that.
Okay, great. Here's an interesting question from Abdul Ismail. Would the AIAA and the RAeS be willing to collaborate with the Association Aeronautique and Astronautics de France?
Okay, the Royal Aeronautical Society is part of what's called CEAS, which is the Confederation of European Aerospace Societies. So in a way, yes, we do. We'll certainly recognize each other, and you know, we tell our members about each other's conferences. I've certainly attended presentations at them at the last Paris Air Show. So again, why not? We're not, you know, as I said before, we're not trying to create one society. We're trying to just both together increase our outreach, our activities, our membership, and surely we then have to work with other sister societies around the world.
Yeah, it would be the short answer, and I think a great example of that is what's already happening with the Rocketry Competition that has now become a part of the educational outreach, and it's been a fixture at Farnborough and Paris now for more than a decade. And teams from the United States, from the UK, and from France, and now that is growing to include other countries as well. But the three founding members of that have been the French, the UK, and the US in that and the International Rocketry Competition at Farnborough and the Paris Air Show. And I think that shows that we can build on these, and already are.
Right. Here's a question from Andrew Neely, interesting, from Australia. How can we leverage this MOU to further strengthen the cooperation in Australia, and also beyond just beyond the US and the UK, as you, and he's particularly interested in STEM. So how can we add Australia and other countries to the mix, particularly in the STEM activities?
Do you want to go first this time, John, or I'm?
Well, I think the AIAA, I believe, has a student chapter there. So I think, you know, building on the foundation that we're already starting. I do think that one of the areas for collaboration, and Dan would kick, this is where being virtual is hard because Dan can't kick me under the table here. But that collaboration in student chapters might be one of the first places that we could choose to work together, because there are lots of great technical universities around the world that have programs in aerospace many of whom have AIAA chapters already, but by no means all of them. And as we work to build that, my view is every university with an aerospace program should have an AIAA chapter in there. But that's the perfect area. That's a perfect area for collaboration with the RAeS.
And indeed, we have a lot of outreach activities. We for primary school children through to secondary school and onto university as well. So the way we are set up with our, we have Australian division and various branches, is that the branch would then reach out with the young people. We have a young persons committee. I see Laura Hong, who's our chair of the young persons committee, has written a question saying, well, who do I talk to start an AIAA RAeS international committee? Why not go for it? It's
and we'll be happy to get Laura connected with the right people at our young professionals group. Would certainly like to make those connections, because we've been working those connections on a couple of fronts, and this would be an excellent addition. So we can work that one. There was an interesting question here. I've scrolled down a little bit. Can the corporate member sponsor activities be aligned? And this is coming primarily from an aeronautics, obviously, Rolls-Royce kind of perspective. Brad Belcher at Rolls-Royce has asked that question.
It's giggling away. Yes, well, the corporate partners again is one of our main streams in the UK, and we have what we call corporate partner briefings, which are closed meetings for the corporate partners with high-level speakers. I think we have one from Comac in a couple of weeks' time. Again, well, why not deliver some of these talks across all our membership? Why not? There's no. You could say there's nothing specifically concrete in the MOU that says we're going to do this, this, and this, but it does say go away and look, consider all options and go ahead and do that. So very much so. There's some great ideas coming out of these questions, some of which we thought of, some of which a little hadn't thought of. So,
well, and it goes to an interesting question. In a lot of areas, there is a world organization. If you go to the air sport side of our profession, the FAI, the Federation Aeronautique Internationale, has aero clubs around the world and air sport organizations that support it, and they feed up into an international organization. There is no real equivalent to that in the professional society that we're talking about here with the RAeS and the AIAA. It's these bilateral ties that substitute for that. And so Brad's question gets into both: should there be a broader organization? Is this a step towards an international aerospace organization? And then, of course, he also touches on the interesting question that always comes up in these, is the revenue sharing, right? From the point of view of sponsors, and many of our corporate members are incredibly important, both in terms of they're the home of many of our members, right? So individual members, we serve individual members. We also serve corporate members. And they're in these times, people are always looking as industries consolidate. There are new companies arise. The corporate membership of our organizations is a very important constituency. And anytime you get into these combination of organizations like the AIAA or the Royal Aeronautical Society, the revenue sharing quickly comes into that. And that's another reason why we're taking this collaboration step by step, because there are some very easy near-term things we can do, and then you get into some very important but fundamental questions where our corporate members naturally have interest in. They like to write fewer checks to fewer different things that they have to help sponsor. It really comes all back into the value proposition, and I know at the AIAA we're very focused on refining the value proposition that we bring to both our individual members and to our corporate members. And I'm sure the RAeS is is similarly focused on value.
Yes.
And I think, John, that's an excellent summary and an excellent excellent point, and really appreciate you making that. That's what this is about, is the value proposition, taking it one step at a time, and working through it. And this agreement gives us the basis to start having those more in-depth conversations. I would like to let everyone know we have over 24 questions. I haven't gotten to all of them. We've dealt with 23 of them. We had committed to John and Jonathan to finish this up at about 40 minutes after the hour. We're a couple minutes over. So I apologize to everyone's questions that we haven't gotten to. I totally agree with the point Jonathan made, is there are some great ideas in these questions. Please know we will take all of these and we will search through those and see what we can accomplish quick and easy, like getting the 2 young professional groups together pretty quick. That's a pretty easy go do. And some of these others that we've discussed, like the student branches and the STEM activities. So again, Jonathan and John, thank you so much for your leadership of the respective societies. Thank you for being here today for this important signing of this important MOU. It gives us the first step to go off and start taking on these new creative ideas and see how they work into the value proposition. We will be working this forward as part of in each respective society's typical mechanisms. But keep the ideas coming. And again, thank you to John and Jonathan. And we will be happy to, if you guys have any closing remarks, please feel free. And then we will let everyone get on with their day.
Yeah,
Can
Dan.
I just say, sorry, John.
Go ahead.
Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time, John, as well. Thank you for everybody else tuning in. I think this is the start of a great journey with 2 great societies that we can move forward and do some really great stuff for the entire community across all of aerospace and aviation. Let's go for it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to thank the people behind this agreement, that these things never happen without the work of individuals who drive it, and particularly Luisella and Bob and the others who have made this agreement a reality. This is only the first step, but I do want to recognize the passionate believers in this who are helping to drive this and encourage our much broader membership to get behind these initiatives as we build our organizations, both here at home and as global organizations. It's one of the really exciting things about our business, is that it does touch people around the world, and that has never been more important than it is today.
Good words.
Oh, excellent words. So thank you again, John and Jonathan. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to Sadia and Susan and all the others, like Luisella and Bob, as John's pointed out, to help make all this happen. So everyone have a great day. We look forward to great things working with the Royal Aeronautical Society and AIAA. This is a great start, and we appreciate everyone getting us to this point, and we look forward to the future. So thank you everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.